Hello and welcome to Faith, Friends, and Hustle. Today, I'm excited to be speaking with my friend and real estate coach, Jason. We are diving deep into a topic that underpins everything we do in business and relationships and in our personal growth, integrity. Jason, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So for our listeners who may not know you, can you just briefly share a little bit about yourself and your journey?
Sure. So I've been in real estate for 20 years. Both my parents were in the same industry, so really I've done this most of my life. I had a construction company where I built houses. I built and sold a property management company, and the reason why I lead with that is because integrity it becomes your reputation and who you are. And I wouldn't say like it's always just came easy. So just being really honest and vulnerable. But yeah, I look forward to diving into that. So I'm married and have 3 kids, 2 grandbabies even. So yeah, that's kind of what I live for.
We share that, right? I have two grandchildren too. It's a great thing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Great thing when we have that. So you and I had a great conversation and we are diving in and we're just discussing integrity, how it shows up, how you operate with that in forefront of your mind, and now being in real estate and coaching and all of the different aspects of where you're at. But I want to take it back just a little bit because a lot of times we find there's defining moments or things in our lives almost act like a meteor, right? They bump us, explode us, however you want to look at it, but they cause us to go in a direction. There's an impact and we go out. And for a lot of us, certainly Jesus Christ in that moment of meeting and being convicted, it's one of those impact things that really can change everything. And it's no different with the little moments without there. So when you think about integrity, what's your earliest memory of that? Like, how did you become so centered on this is going to be a part of my life and I'm going to live it out?
Man, it's funny when I look for moments in my career, and I think there are lots of times when this comes up in life. I think for all of us, um, I think I was probably 5. Like I think it seriously was. I was 5 years old. I was with my dad. We were in the next town over in Ozark, and we went into the gas station. Dad got gas, and I stole a piece of gum. I don't know why. I was 5. It just seemed like a cool thing. I don't know why I did it, but I did. I got in the truck and and here I pull out a piece of gum and my dad's like, "Where'd you get that?" And I was like, "I don't know." He was like, "Yeah, you do." I'm like, "I don't know. I just got it." He's like, did you pay for it?" I was like, "No." So he made me go in and apologize and give it back to him. And I don't know why, of all of the memories I remember, like that one just stands out as probably like the first time I was faced with a bad decision that I made. Well, let's be honest, I'm sure I made a lot more, but that was the one that really stood out. But I just remember that my dad, it was a really big deal to him to not just return it, but to go back and apologize. And I remember my dad saying, "Hey, the person that owns the store is like, this is his everything right here. Like he owns the store. Like this is supports his family." And I just remember that being a really big deal. And from there, I remember lots of little moments where my dad would redirect me. I would be mulling over a decision, something's happened in my life, and dad would just redirect me back to what the right thing looked like. And my dad was never one to tell me what to do. He was always one that would listen and maybe guide me. Or I mean, now that I'm older and I've been a coach with Mass for like 7 years, so I kind of, now that I've experienced that a little bit, I think maybe my dad was just coaching me a little bit, molding me. Um, so I would say that was probably a very impactful moment for me.
Yeah, the rod is so important in our journey here on earth, right? And I know feedback, consequences, failing, all these things are very tough conversations and words to have and experiences to experience and go through. And yet we find so often that through that failure is where you find success, right? It's on the outside of that that you learn, and then you're able to move on.
Yeah. It's funny. I remember so many conversations with my dad as an adult, because later on in life, my dad and I were in business together. We were business partners. Um, I just remember so many times coming to him, and I would have a deal going bad or something was going wrong. And my dad just redirected me to, well, how do you think they see it? Are you only looking out for yourself in this situation? Like, whose best interest is this for? I mean, dad just was really a very wise person and a very caring person.
Yeah, it's amazing to have an example like that to follow along, which is why it's so important what we do, even as being in the coaching realm or as leaders and having the chance to influence those around us, both in our families, friendships, and with the work relationships and the professional relationships. We have a real opportunity to create that impact and live out integrity. So, how do you handle that when you see someone that's maybe out of integrity or not living up to the expectation of integrity that you guys have for each other? Maybe they have for themselves.
Mhm. I think to back up a little bit to answer that question, maybe I'll share, like, because I've wrestled with what is integrity a little bit. And because you can have integrity in your word, you can have integrity with your actions, you can also have integrity with yourself. And I don't know that anyone ever has it or doesn't have it. Maybe that's to degrees, because we all see the world differently. That makes sense.
Mhm.
Um, how do I handle it though? I think it always just comes back to, like, who do they really want to be? Because we all have a vision of who we're striving to be, and I think it all comes back to that, helping them to see who they want to be and what decisions need to be made. And by making the wrong decision or going a different direction, who does that lead you to being? So, yeah.
Yeah, it kind of starts with what is the truth
Mhm.
and building your foundation from that.
It's interesting though. I think sometimes what's difficult is, what is the truth? Because although there are just so many times where it in life, I mean business too, it just sometimes it's a little bit gray. Like, what might be right for me might not be right for you, because we see the world differently. I think that's where it's sometimes a little difficult.
Can you give me an example?
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. So sometimes when we have, well, let's talk about real estate contracts, because being real estate agents,
Mhm.
sometimes when a real estate negotiation kind of goes a little sideways, there are usually an expectation that's unspoken. And it might be true that someone had an expectation of something. It also might be true that we didn't talk about it. It doesn't make it right or wrong. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a different perspective. And I think where that's where, like, integrity, I think, well, okay, I'll take ownership of my portion of it and make sure it's right for you, regardless, because I care more about the person. Because integrity to me is just love. Like, I love myself, I love other people, I want to express love. And if I love someone, I want to do right by them. I want to do the right thing. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It gives me a lot to think about in this conversation as we go through. Because one of the words you brought up was expectations. I think integrity does come with a lot of expectations. And I think the worst thing we can do as leaders is assume someone has agreed to expectations we haven't shared with them.
Ah, and that's what I was actually referring to when truth, like, what is the truth? I mean, you understand this is what your role should be on the team or in this organization. Yet did we really discuss like when we were going to evaluate it, or exactly how it was going to be done, or when I was going to expect that by? Like so many expectations that maybe as a leader we might have, did we express that to them? Are they clearly understand it?
Yeah, you're going to live out integrity on your terms for the sake of others, and there is an expectation that they would uphold integrity to your definition, right? And that's where communication, like you're saying, it's got to be clear so everyone has the same ideas, thoughts of what's integrity. What does that look like?
I know. Yeah. And I don't know that it's always I don't know that it always just stands out as being obvious. I mean, I'm at the end of the day, I'm going to make the right decision that I feel is right because that's who I choose to be. I don't know that it always comes easy to clearly identify it. I think sometimes it's looking at everybody's perspective and make sure that the decisions made is right.
Yeah. Well, I think that's where the biblical worldview comes in, right?
Mm.
Following Christ, organizing your teams, your leadership style around truth of the Bible, truth what Jesus tells us how to operate in that can set healthy expectations that gives us a shot of actually living them out. Right? If we're coming out with our own kind of plan of action or own this is what integrity looks like, I think you can get in a lot of trouble, be a lot of miscommunication where it comes through without coming back to the truth and how we would see it and how we live it out, which I would say is scripture and Jesus Christ's teaching.
Which, I mean, essentially that's where morals come from, right? Like, well, I mean, without that, we would have no moral filter.
Yeah. Yeah. And integrity falls apart without
Yeah,
that filter. Yeah.
100%.
When it goes through. So how do you turn this into action plans for businesses, right? When it comes to their vision, you and I are believers of you should have mission, you should have values on the way your business operates. So we all should have a purpose we're marching towards. How do you walk clients through that, or maybe your own teamwork members, and help developing? How do you live this out?
I mean, I think it's really finding. Oh, well, okay, so I'm gonna back up. A word we hear a lot is what's your why? You know, Simon Sinek's got the whole book on it. I love the concept. I love the conversation. I think to just spin just a hair, I think it's about purpose. And and really whatever your purpose is, I mean, I don't know a lot of people. Well, I wouldn't be in alignment with a lot of people if their only purpose was only to make money, right? Because money's only good for the good that money can do. But I think when there's alignment with purpose, the actions become easy. Does that make sense? Like that, when you're really clear on what your purpose is, it's easy to do the right thing. It's not hard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and then your integrity is just a byproduct of doing the right thing, right? Based on the purpose.
That's right. Yeah. It becomes like your new filter.
Yeah, so actually creating and having thinking about, meditating on, praying over integrity and how is that being used as a filter in my day-to-day interactions with others.
Yeah. I mean, my purpose is to make an impact, right? Like I'm clearly here to make an impact. I want to help people like build these be the architect of their life. The life that they dream of, maybe the life they didn't even never know they could have or achieve. And with knowing that's my filter, that's my purpose, it's easy to do the right thing because I'm running everything through that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think one of the things you've said without stating it, and that's that it starts with ourselves, right? It starts by looking in the mirror and making sure we're living out and we're living in integrity, and then that cup overfills and we're able to interact with others, right, with integrity.
And that is so I'll be honest with you, like when like thinking before I came into this conversation, my mind was really in self-integrity. And you know, we've heard the saying that your business grows to the extent that you do, right? I mean, if you don't keep the word that you like, if you don't keep the word you make to yourself, the commitments you make to yourself, it's hard to keep the commitment you make to other people. Like
Yeah.
it's easy to tell other people what to do. It's hard for us to do it ourselves.
Yeah, and that in itself can cause you to be out of integrity, right? Out of alignment.
I know, right? I think that's where it all starts. And I don't know that we ever arrive. I think it's always a journey. And I think it's always coming back to, okay, well, where am I out of alignment right now? Where do I need to be focusing on right now? And I don't know that it's never perfect because we never arrive. It's always a journey. We're always working to get better.
Yeah, just like our journey with Christ and in life, right? Sanctification is an ongoing process until we're perfected. And that's not going to happen until we at least experience the first round of death through on this side in eternity. So I think leadership journey, yeah, it's a constant process of refining, remolding, maturity, experiences, all of those things that shape us and then allow us to live out, a more Christ-like life in our day and day.
Yeah, 100%.
Any last words? What do you say to somebody who is thinking about this? Maybe they're reflecting on their own life and areas of growth.
You know, I think when you can form the life that you desire to have, the person you want to be, don't get too caught up on the word integrity. Just live the life that making the decisions that's going to get you to who you want to be, and you'll do the right thing. Like when you have the right filters, integrity is just a byproduct. Like just me personally, I would just rather not focus on integrity and just focus on making sure I'm making the best decision I can in the moment that helps people and makes an impact. That would probably be my advice.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I've really appreciated this conversation. It's been powerful. And for our listeners who want to connect with you or learn more about your work, where can they find out more about you?
Well, I do lead a really cool Facebook group called Biblical Leadership. So love for you to join us on there. Every day I post just kind of a journal of thoughts that I'm studying, and you even post your podcast in there sometimes. And so it's just really a great place for anyone that's striving to be a leader to get around other leaders of faith and help to really make an impact. So love for you to join our group.
Awesome. And I'll make sure we have all of that in the show notes so our listeners can follow up and check in and join that Facebook group if they're interested. Appreciate everyone listening. God bless and have a great week.